We're here at the Stoop today, the home of Harlequins, to speak to Head Groundsman Paul Sykes. Thank you for having us today, Paul, here at the Stoop. So you've been here for nearly 14 years now, I think you said.
Yeah, I'm looking for some 13, I think is the one. I can't remember the month, but yeah, long time, but it's gone quite quickly.
You was in sort of gardening before you got into turf care, I think you were saying before, so tell us a little bit about how you got here.
Yeah, I got here via the French Alps, but originally in my career I've always work experience at a golf club, straight from school work experience, and then I worked at a school for a good 9 years. Was obsessed with being a football head groundsman at a stadium somewhere. Kind of gave up on the idea of that because I wanted to go snowboarding. Went and did that for a few years, came back here, and very luckily I got the job at Quins, and I've never looked back, and this is my dream job, and I love it.
So your other turf care role before here, you spent 9 years at a school, was it, did you tell?
Kirkham Grammar School. Shout out Kirkham Grammar School. I've not spoke to you guys ever before on camera, but you know, they really helped me in my career because it's a big rugby school. It's they play the likes of Sedgburgh, T-Bay. It's a private school, and that helps a lot because that's where I cut my teeth with all aspects of grass cutting, you know, like cricket squares, hockey, everything. It's good to get into a bit of everything, and at that time then blagged my way into doing the HND because it's why I like this story actually. I'll try and keep it brief, but they thought I was going to do I went to Myerscough College, and they thought I was going to do, she wanted me to do an NVQ level 1, and I said no, I want to do an HND. And she said, well, you just want to get a qualification so you can leave. I said, no, I want to be the best for you. So I went outside and got some grass, and I gave it to her, and I said, where does the grass grow? And she said, I don't know. I said, neither do I, and it's embarrassing. So I want to do the best college course possible so that I can know exactly. And everyone out there knows it grows from the bottom. I think I learned it grows from the bottom, meristems and that. But I'm a geek, and I wanted to know all that information, and I didn't want to do a smaller course where it wouldn't teach me so much. And I wanted to future-proof myself as well, and it turned out to be quite a good decision, I think, because then that allowed me to quit, because I finally became a groundsman, but I've been there a long time, and I just quit and did ski seasons, and because I never went to uni. So I had that, at 27 years old, I had my kid time, my uni life, and it was quite fun. And I got into that for about 3 or 4 years, and then came back, got the job here, and here I am, and I love it.
So tell us a bit more about life at the Stoop. So is it just yourself and your assistant groundsman Dan here?
Yep. So it's quite interesting in the Premiership rugby. It seems that no two ground teams have the same work. It's different everywhere. There's no standardisation. So because we don't do the training ground here, I don't really like it, to be honest. I'd love to be able to join with the guys and any problems that we have out here, maybe we could replicate at the training ground, get a bit more tight and professional with that, like they do in the Premiership of Soccer, and that's a long-term goal. So because of that, we only have myself and Dan, which again, then, because we're a small team, sometimes I'm like, oh, a couple more people would be really handy. But so we're at places like Saints, where my mate Andy, I have a joke with my mate Andy because I said everything. He's got his gold plated and he's got 10 times more budget than me. It's a bit of a laughing stock. Sorry, Andy, but you've got a gold plated mower. So we've got a really small team because we don't do the training. So sometimes I wish we had a training ground there so I could have another couple of lads or something like that. But then it's got its benefits too. And me and Dan are a very, very close team. And I was listening to the interview he did then, and like I say, he sort of half drunk came and asked me if there's any positions once, and I've had to say no to a great many people over that because there never was. But it got to a point where we were scaling up so much that I'd been a bit too humble about asking for help for a long time, so it was getting a bit, so I couldn't really deal with it anymore. So it was perfect timing, and when Dan came and said, "Have you got any jobs, mate?" At the end of a match where we won, and it was one of those great days, I said, "Yes, actually, for once I have. So let's have a chat." And I was quite in. My bosses, Nurture Gavin Jones, were really got a contract through Quins, through Nurture Gavin Jones, which helps because of things like they really allowed me to be the boss on that one, to see the people, and said, "Oh, we like this guy, this guy, this guy," and I said, "Dan, it will be Dan, I know," because you just know.
So in terms of being a boss, how do you find that? Did you sort of get taken on any sort of training courses in terms of managing people, or how do you find it?
Blow my own trumpet really, but I think I'm quite a good natural leader. I think there's a difference between leaders and managers. I don't think I'd be a good manager because that's where you do have to do the shouty, nasty decisions. And I think I'm more effective as a leader to inspire people and show how I do it. And then, you know, not the old classic of there's nothing out there that I would ask Dan to do that I wouldn't do myself and have done over and over and over and over again. So yeah, that's the main thing really. I think I'm quite good at it, and so far they haven't put me on any courses. So if I get put on a course, I might be doing something wrong, don't I? Might be a hint.
So you just mentioned there that you're employed for a contractor for Harlequins.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit more about that.
It's always been the case here. So when the 13 going 14 years ago, when I first started here, it was a company called MCR, and at the time it was quite controversial because I didn't really have a proper say in my role and how much money I got to spend or meetings or anything like that. So I didn't really like that aspect back then. But several political changes got made around the place and new contracts came in, and Nurture Gavin Jones took me on. So through most of the time I've been working here, even though I've been the head groundsman solely for Harlequins, I've had contractual obligations from Nurture Gavin Jones. And I was just talking before about it. I think it's good. Like sometimes you could have more budget that you could possibly spend, but you definitely have experienced a lot more stress if you didn't. If I was the only guy and I'm right, I'd probably have more money to spend. But if my pitch ever was on TV or something bad, which we know happens, a lot of pressure on us guys, I get the cover. So I'm very grateful for Nurture Gavin Jones, and also they give me all my kit. I got a lot of awesome kit. So every few years, it's like Christmas for me. I get some new awesome shiny mower, not gold plated like Andy's, but yeah, I'm doing all right for it. But yeah, very grateful.
Was it always rugby that sort of had your heart? Is that where you wanted to be in terms of turf care, or was there any other sectors you sort of wanted to go into?
Ironically, no. I always wanted to be Liverpool Football Club's groundsman. I always did. And my qualification that I was talking about before is HND Turf Science Golf Course Management. But it was only through meeting greenkeepers I thought, no, don't want to do. I'm not really into golf anyway. And then when I met some football groundsmen, I was like, I don't know. Actually, it's a lot of pressure, and I believe. And you're going to think I'm crazy, but I think I'll call it rugby magic. Never ever was a fan of rugby apart from watching Wigan with my granddad because I had to on a Sunday and be quiet and watch the pools and watch the results. I used to love that. But apart from that, I've never really been a big rugby fan. But I ended up working at a school that's a really top rugby union school. I ended up quitting it, going to do ski seasons and trying to be a hippie and try to get away from this whole industry, come back. And now, I've got to be honest with you, sorry Liverpool, because I do love you Liverpool, but I love watching the guys that, you know, you hear that from over there on the match, and that is just real men hitting each other hard, no rolling around, and it's really converted me. And I absolutely am a die-hard Union fan, much to the chagrin of a lot of my northern folk who get mad at me for that, because I should be a league guy, but no, sorry, I just love Union. Apart from the scrums do my head in, so I should be a league guy. But that's why you can never be, I can never shut off as being a groundsman. I'll be watching a football match going, oh my God, look at that divot.
So carrying on, actually, because you brought up football, I think in recent years, there's a lot of recognition for turf care professionals that work in football. Oh, yeah. Do you find that sort of transfers to rugby?
Yeah, massively. It bleeds through. Wayne Billing got the IOG at Groundsman. Well, listen, he's come from Spurs. He came over here and he put some fires up backsides in the Premiership. He came in and said, oh, what are these standards here? And he really pulled us all up. This Silicon Valley thing, I like the term that Britain's the Silicon Valley for greenkeepers and groundsmen. I think that's so fantastic. I've been saying it for years, and I wanted to write that article for one of the papers to try and get the point across. And I've still got some ideas of things I'd like to write to make people realise what we're about, because we're all crazy. And it's nice when I see Wayne spraying Spurs pitch at 2 in the morning. I'm like, oh, it's not just me that's, I can't say the words, crazy, something crazy. We're all nuts. We're all so obsessed with it. And it's great through turf business, by the way. I'd like to thank you guys for facilitating me being introduced to these guys, because I always thought they'd be elitist and, hey, we're not talking to the groundsman of Harlequins, you know, I'm at this club. No, we all acknowledge our crazy. We're all a certain blend of crazy that's perfect for OCD, for making things as good as they can possibly be, you know. And football, we're all following football. If we're going to put it on the table, you know, when But my assistant met Steve Braddock, and he explained to him humbly how he's kind of changed the sport, really. Then we only want to follow that, because you could put an argument that rugby's still living in the 1800s a little bit, really. But we haven't got the money, we haven't got the budget that football's got, we don't get the same sort of crowd. So it's a slow burn, and we will get there, but we're all striving. And I find that all the football grounds are very inspiring people.
So you mentioned that rugby's a slow burner, and I think in recent years it's becoming a lot more televised. So there's a lot more eyes on you and the surfaces that you produce. How do you deal with that pressure? Do you feel like you're working more to make the pitch look good, as well as obviously playability and safety?
Not really, because I think if you're doing your job right and you are keeping, got to be careful. As a scientist in me, you've got to be careful about saying the word healthy. But I will for this. But you shouldn't really say it, because if you get a load of disease, you could say your grass is unhealthy, but it's the turf. The disease is being really healthy, isn't it? It's having a great day. So that's why you've got to be careful with the word health. But if you are doing your job and optimising, you know, to quote the great Dave Roberts, ruffle the surface as much as you can. To quote Jim, water management. If you keep it clean, do it everything right, then it's match perfect, TV perfect anyway. Yeah. So it's a byproduct of the. Try not to sound pompous, but it's a byproduct of a sort of obsession for perfection. Clive Woodward won the World Cup by critical non-essentials, CNEs, and me and Dan use them here all the time. Meaning, if you were going to do something that made 1% difference, most people go, "No, not worth it." But if you did 20 of them, it took a lot of effort, but that's how you win. That's how you won the World Cup. I don't want to just end up stressing ourselves out just in the pursuit of perfection, which sounds ironic, doesn't it? Because I think this might be the next problem with groundsmen.
I think the heat is exactly what you said, the pursuit of perfection, because I feel like whoever I ask that question to, it's always the same answer, that, you know, we produce a pitch to the best of our ability. If it's televised or not, that's the standard we set. But it also brings, you know, people's opinions. So social media is a massive thing of, you know, fans or whatever having a go at you or making comments on the pitch when they really don't understand at all what goes into what you do.
I'm quite Teflon when it comes to things like that. My assistant, I tend to stay away from, even though I'm trying to start my own social media channel, and when it comes to my job here, I stay away from comments, because that's why I wanted to write the article for Guardian. I'd still like to do it, following on from this Silicon Valley thing. I'd like to write to a few papers, do an article, and say things like that. Every place is different, and not everywhere's the same. And explain to people the difference of what a reinforced pitch is. Explain to people that just like most people don't know that under there is not sand, like all the best pitches you got there. Under there is a load of soil with Marmite tins and Marmite jars under it. I mean, I have to make the best of that, and then another club might have just got a Deso pitch, and again, because that's where there's problems with rugby, is that it's inconsistencies, and I'd love to see that standardised across the board like they do with FIFA.
I know you do a lot of stuff with Harlequins TV and obviously on the socials. Do you find that has helped both the organisation you work for, the fans, the staff here, and just, you know, the general public, in terms of recognition and understanding what you do?
I try to be a humble person as often as I can. But I've been on TV a lot in the time, so you got to sort of draw the balance. And you guys too. You guys invited me to certain functions that have enabled me to meet the best groundsmen on the planet. I'll always be very grateful for you guys for that. If you want me to be honest with you, sometimes I feel like I'm in a dream world, because I love all this. I love knowing all the best groundsmen on the planet. I love the coverage. I never thought anyone would know who I am. I was on TV before Coronation Street for years, because it was on an advert, and I was just like, how is this? And sometimes I feel like I'm in my only dream, where only I'd really appreciate going to 5-star resorts and and having gigs with the head groundsman of Arsenal, watching the head groundsman of Arsenal explain to my assistant how he really kind of changed the game with George Graham in the 80s, and watching his chin on the floor. Only a certain kind of weirdo can appreciate that, and I'm that guy, you know. And yeah, I'm very grateful.
I think it is quite good actually that Harlequins do cover that, because not all clubs do publicise it that much. Do you think that the fans may have stemmed from that exposure and you doing those interviews and sort of informing people?
Yeah, there's no two ways about it. That's where it comes from. And again, you know, I offer my gratitude to Quins for that as well, because I got I was saying the other day that I got a video. I did a video a couple of years ago, last year, and it. Sorry, Laurie, but it got like a lot more hits than our CEO, like by the order of tens of thousands, because all my crazy groundsman mates are going, "Oh, Sykes, he's spreading it," and ended up in America being spread by random gardeners all over the place. And that, again, I mean, could you imagine how humbling that is? That is just. All I've ever done is what I love doing, and it's just created this Matrix dream-like situation where only I could enjoy the gigs like Soltex and stuff like that. I live for Soltex, and it's ridiculous. We're stupid. It's a lot of good. You could look at it and say we're all patting each other on the back, but we're not. We're all just got mutual respect for each other.
So tell me a bit more about the surface, Paul, in terms of playability and what you sort of aspire for yearly.
Well, back to CNEs, the critical non-essentials. There's only so much I can do out there, but we push every single year. So the only problem with that is I've had a bad year this year because we push the levels of what we can get away, what we can do. In that we haven't. I tried to make it look as much like a sand-based pitch as I can, but the simplicity is it's not. It's not that good out there for stability. But I work with what I've got. So and take advantage of any good things. So the soil, the fertilizer tends to last quite a long time because the organic matter in the soil, because it's just soil out there with Marmite tins. It used to be an actual rubbish dump, and human waste was dumped on there 300 years ago. So you could say that my job is literally polishing one of them. And I like that challenge, and we work with what we've got. But your question was, where would you like to go? Well, I would love to have some sort of legacy where I have completely changed that situation to a sand-based, under soil heat, deso pitch that I can pass on to my amazing, dutiful assistant, Dan, one day. And that would make me very proud. That would feel like I've done something with my career then. And I could have a reason, can't stay here forever, but I would love to improve this massively before I did move on.
I wanted to touch on sort of green credentials and environmental focus, because I know that's something quite important to you. We were talking just before the interview, and from what I got from it, the only thing I can mention to you is mushrooms, and I hope that you elaborate on that.
Yeah, and it's not the normal reason that this hippie gets asked about mushrooms. I infected this pitch with Bacillus subtilis a couple of years ago, which is it's a mushroom that. And a mycelium that, and for anyone out there doesn't know, mycelium are like mushroom roots, and mushrooms are like the fruit of a tree. So you don't see we didn't see mushrooms all over the place because I didn't let the mushroom bodies fruit. But what I did is I inoculated the soil with a spit, and I read a lot of scientific journals, and this gives me a buzz in life when I can do something like that. I'll get to the point about it in a second. But I inoculated the surface, and it was a success, and I spoke to a guy called Alan Gange. Apparently he's going to retire, I'm gutted, but he was the country's leading mycologist over at Royal Holloway. And he agreed with me. So I had this theory that you could extract the phosphorus that's locked in my soil anyway. The plant could use that phosphorus by making it soluble. And it worked. It really worked. But what I'd love for us all to do is, a lot of what we do is we've come from... We trickle fed down from the agribusiness. The agricultural business is so much bigger than the grounds, and a lot of our technologies, most of them come from there. I'd like to give back to see if we could do something to actually change how we do things on the planet. I'll give you a good example. You'll hear a lot, there's only enough food on this planet for 10 more years or something like that. Yeah, if we do it like we did now, we could have cabbages growing from hanging baskets there. We could grow our own food in our own houses hydroponically. There's so many things. If we just changed our way of thinking, we'd then stop having this negative famine mentality. So I'd love, as well as we get a lot of gifts from the agri-business, I'd love to give some back to the world. And what about that? What about like inoculating? Why did it cost me $4,000 to inoculate the pitch with spores and mushrooms? Because like any technology, it gets cheaper over time, but it's because we're not thinking enough so I think we need to change our way of looking at the green thing.
So encapsulating all those things that you are so clearly quite passionate about, I wanted to touch on legacy and just what's next for you.
Well, I've got a side project called Campercast, and I might come out with a game completely. I like the idea of consultancy. I might do consultancy just so I can still stay in contact with my colleagues and friends and help. like old people, as you get older, you tend to use your body a bit less and get paid for using that a little bit more. That would be nice if I could stay in the game that way. But honestly, I want to live in Scotland and just chill out with a log fire and have a croft and grow my own plants and give all the vegetables away to the village for no reason, just pure altruism. And that's what I'd like. And so I've got a bit of a project of interviewing people who carve their own path in life. So Campercast is like, imagine a podcast in a camper van, because I'm camper van based. And I'm trying to get that off the ground. And it's slow at the moment. I've got a lot of things I need to do. But this job, I find it really difficult to do too, because like I was saying to you before, I hate video editing. I like filming things, but then you're like, oh my God, it takes hours. And it's very hard to do that when you've had a hot, sweaty day and done 90 hours in a week here, you know. So, but I've got to. And basically what Campercast is anybody who's got a side project, I think that's cool. Anyone who's carving their own path in life, I think that's cool.
Well, Paul, whether it's your podcast or Scotland for you next, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been lovely talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you again for having us, and hopefully see you soon at the summit.
Definitely, definitely.
Thanks again, Paul.
Cheers. Thank you very much.